If what you want is real, relevant hunting, you are in the right place. With moderator Josh Miller, owner of Triple Point Outdoors, co-hosts Kevin Cook, owner of the Outdoor Pro Shop, and Brian Keitlinger, athlete and creator of Left in the Field Outdoors. Welcome to the Reinvent the Hunt podcast.
Welcome back to episode 17 already of the Reinvent the Hunt podcast. We've got some great episodes so far. Tonight's going to be a really good one. We have the On the Limb podcast, so like duo podcast coming on tonight with Mike and also Dan over there from Nature's Voice Game Calls. And of course, we got the usual suspects, Brian Keitlinger from Left in the Field Outdoors, who just disappeared. His internet connectivity is having issues. Good job, Brian. First 3 seconds he's off.
Perfect timing.
I love it. Freaking awesome.
Impeccable.
This makes it real, right? Just lets people know it's real. And then, of course, we got Kevin Cook up there from the Outdoor Pro Shop down in Maryland. So I want to talk and start tonight, guys. Brian will probably, he just appears. He's like a magician. He'll jump back on, whether a freaking signal comes back on or whether he pedals harder, one of the two. But I want to get kind of your input on.
We got one of those kind of guys.
You got one?
Yeah.
I want to get your input on your podcast, the On the Limb podcast, what you're doing with it, why you're doing things you are with it, and just, we're real here and we're nitty gritty. It's not special. It's not produced. Every once in a while a word comes out and that's fine, but we try to keep it mostly family oriented, although we understand that adults watch it too, so we like to have that blend.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you guys like as far as the podcast you guys host? What are you aiming to do with it? What are you currently working on and where are you going?
So basically what we want to do with our podcast is we want to give people the experience that you have in hunt camp that you normally wouldn't have, or somebody may not get that experience. Yeah. We've talked to a lot of people that doesn't have that experience and they just get to hunt with a couple buddies and then go home. But we want to give people that experience, like you're standing around the fire talking about the pre-hunt, post-hunt, or, whatever's going on at deer camp. So I spent my whole entire youth at deer camp in Pocahontas County, West Virginia. So I know how deer camp is and the banter that you have between your brothers and
yes, sir.
Your dad and your cousins and uncles, and everybody's there. And even if you're not killing anything or not catching fish, you're still having an awesome time.
Absolutely. Every time. I know in Ohio, we got, I like that because we got, a lot of that people complain about because our tags used to be metal tags. You stop at a gas station here in Killbuck, Ohio. Kurt Garver owns a gas station, a Marathon. You stop in there. I remember my uncle, he was stopping there with Bucks, and I was with him as a kid, and you stop in, but you're also butterscotch and you're BSing with the guys, and you're looking at the deer, and it's like a camaraderie experience, and that's not there anymore. It's all digital.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have that anymore. With this whole electronic game check-in system, you don't have all that anymore. So even if you don't get to deer camp, that was a lot of people's experiences. They kill something, they go to the local gas station, local water hole, and they can show that buck off, and everybody's there to talk about it. You make new friends, you meet new people, and that's gone to the wayside with this e-check.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or they get pissed off and you shot the buck there after. That happens too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I love technology and it's great. It needs to keep evolving, but there's just some things that I think that we need to keep the same and have the technology there. Why not keep, the check-in stations for the people that want to do that? And
even I was thinking about this. I've thought about this a lot. Do the e-check, but have like a little kiosk at the gas station or something where you check it in right there.
Yeah,
that's a good idea too, actually.
Yeah, because you're already
that way you still have that.
You're already on the honor system as it is when you check them in.
You are. Yeah, you bet you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can wipe the Wendy's grease off the kiosk fingers you use to take your Wendy's order and walk over and check your deer in. So
yeah,
it works out that way too. That's cool. I think you guys hit the nail on the head there. I think Mike, you mentioned bringing. I didn't even think about that, but it's freaking right. Like in this day and age, the lack of the camaraderie around the fire, because we're all busy with our lives, with kids and jobs, and just making ends meet anymore. And like we lose that guy to guy connection unless you're in like a church small group or a worship team or whatever you're doing, softball team. But this is it. Like I think the digital technology, like you said, allows us to reach out. I know, like Kevin, Brian, and I. It's like literally, I'm going to bow fish with Kevin next weekend, the 22nd, right in June, down in Maryland. I can't wait to fall off the boat, have you shove me. but like we have connected digitally. We never met each other. Brian and I met in person, but like you know these people, and then in real life, they're the real person. They're the same version of the character you knew online.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done a lot of business with people from, just our online Facebook page and just through the web, and they've connected with us through Facebook for the game call business. And you build a relationship with your customers, and it's almost like you know them. And if you do ever get a chance to meet them, it's not awkward. I mean, it's like you've
You're right.
known each other for 10 years.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, that's super freaking weird. In a digital age, I don't know why, but you're spot on, dude. It's like you knew the guy and you knew the genre and kind of where you're going. So that's cool. That's cool. So what kind of topics on your podcast do you guys generally focus on?
So basically, our platform is God, family, country, and everything outdoors. We want to bring the grassroots of America back to what it should be. And, it's ever since COVID, it seems like people are going back to traditions and, just things that we used to do of old. And I think that we need to get more back to our grassroots when it comes to say a podcast or the news outlets and different things like that. I mean, the podcast industry right now is booming, and I think it's a great platform for people to get on and just bring that stuff back and just make it real.
You bet, man. Kevin, what's your opinion on reaching people?
I think it's a mixture of all things. I think, like, especially when we had the banter back and forth, a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, that we're just being real. We're just guys that are just talking real topics and being genuine and truthful about it. Like you said about the men's mental health, like that's going to be a huge episode coming up.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are, they think the same way we do. They just don't talk about it, or
yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So it just falls by the wayside. And I think with with any platform, it's just people just like the realness of it.
So we do some live podcasts for Cabela's when they have their big sales here locally in Charleston, and we've done their fishing classic. We've done a vendors day live podcast where they bring in local vendors and allow them to sell their products in their parking lot, which is awesome. And we've actually, the last podcast that we done there live through the different guests that we had on, we just let the live roll. And man, just the people that would stay on and watch because they just want to interact. It's like they're interacting with you and they're there, So I think people like that.
Yes, sir.
They like the realness. They like the live stuff. And just getting things out there that is transparent and real.
You bet. I've even had a lot of older older guys that they physically can't make it out in the woods anymore, or that you're not real mobile. They love this stuff because they're entertained, but they're also connecting with guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's connecting to other guys is huge. It's it's like girls at a Tupperware party used to be back in the 90s or something like that, but it's real cool stuff for dudes. And we need that. We need real cool stuff for dudes, but it's not BS and it's not focused on stuff that we all enjoy, but probably don't want to show to our kids every single day and try to sell products and that method, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, tired of us talking about it.
Yeah, I think there's a way to do it. You guys know what I'm saying? There's a tactful way to do it.
Yep. So I was just listening to the Okayest Hunter podcast last night. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Yeah.
But they had Sam Holcomb on. He is the production manager with Field and Stream. And they were Field and Stream right now is having a Father's Day special, where they're bringing their print articles and magazine back into production. So they were talking about, being a kid and being at deer camp, you kind of look up at your dad as like the icon, like you look at him as like the dude that's in charge and the guy that knows it all. And then when you get older and your dad goes hunting with you, he's like, what are you doing? So it's kind of like he's in the same shoes that you was as a kid watching him.
You bet.
You know what I mean? Because you're carrying on those traditions. And that's another big thing that we want to do with our podcast is make sure the hunting heritage stays alive. We talk about that all the time. And it doesn't matter whether it's taking your kid fishing or taking your kid on a hike. Sometimes hunting starts with taking your kid on a hike because they get the interest for the outdoors.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be them being out there.
Yeah, just taking them out in the woods and showing them the leaf.
Yeah.
Draw a picture, take a picture, show them a picture, let them find this leaf. Hey, scavenger hunt, go find this. You know, that gets their interest peaked in the outdoors, man. And that's what we need.
Yeah.
You bet, you bet. There's something to be said here because we're going to talk about it coming up on our mental health episode, but also includes children. I'll show I have my son on there a little bit, talk about some revelations he made to our family with screen time. But I'm telling you, like with kids, you know, the adults, like Brian, Kevin, and I, we talk about reconnecting with nature, finding that faith based reason why we're here, you know, in the outdoors instead of being on the screen. But we can still, I think, moderation across anything. But like with kids, you got to get them off screen time. Once they get outside in nature and in the woods, and they start discovering how cool it is, then they freaking get off that screen all the time. And they start self monitoring. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's just like what
Definitely.
I took my daughter outside and she was finding worms one day. Like we just love finding worms. She found like 85 worms just digging in the yard. Just get them outside. Kids love being outside.
Yeah. And then you dare each other to eat them, right? Like my brother and I did growing up. We walked down our township road and we had like puddles all over the place where the frost wedging was making holes, and it'd be filled with water after a rain. I remember distinctly. I'd tell my brother, he'd dare me, he'd be like, "Hey, I dare you to drink out that puddle with those worms in there." And of course I did. You know, that's part of the fun. So I think
absolutely
kids lacking that in today's world. Like you got to get dirty, you got to get out there, and there's something to be said about technology because we're on it now. But man, it's inundating.
Yeah, I started my son out really young. I remember watching my dad leave for deer camp and going to Pocahontas County, and I couldn't go and because he didn't think I was old enough. But at 9 years was my first introduction to deer camp. So it was a little late, but I started my son out at 4 years old. I mean, when my son was born, I told my wife, I said, man, I cannot wait till the day I introduce him to the woods and to the outdoors. So I just couldn't wait. I mean, he went into the woods at 4 years old with a Red Ryder BB gun strapped to his back.
That's cool. That's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know Brian's had some, we had an episode on earlier in the spring, Brian and his son with wild turkey at their place in PA. And man, like just you talking about that, Brian, hit me straight in the heart because I remember the stories of my dad and growing up and you with your son, you know, harvesting these turkeys, and your son now has a voice. Now he has a voice of youth to really reach out there and get these kids, you know, using sports and stuff like that. Kids are gonna look up to him being a kid in sports and also able to, you know, bring in the outdoors in his life. So that's cool.
Sure.
Yeah. And you know, as a kid, we sat there and we froze to death and we was starving and we've fallen asleep. But at that time, sometimes it seemed miserable. But when you look back at it as an adult, you're like, man, those are some of the best times I had.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as a kid.
Oh Lord, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially going to the gas station before you go on your hunt to get all your snacks and your beef jerky and the pop to keep you going, or the coffee.
That's the best. I got a story back in high school. My buddy and I think we shot a doe or something. And I had an S10. It was like 95 S10, first truck, and put it in the back of the truck. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was like, we got to wash this thing out. And I'm like, well, let's do this. I went to the car wash and pulled it out, stood her up, spread her open. You know, I'm in there with a pressure washer, blasting away. And the local deputy drove by, and my father-in-law heard in the scanner, you know, hey, there's a kid spraying out a deer carcass with a pressure washer in the car wash bay. I'm just rolling it, you know. I'm just down there pressure washing out. Didn't get arrested, didn't trouble, but we had some hella good times growing up being kids. But you know, we didn't die, so you know.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think it's good that we're talking about some of this too, because we got Father's Day coming up this weekend, and you know, there's going to be a lot of dads out there taking their kids fishing and just doing something in the outdoors like they grew up doing. And I think it's, I like I said, whether it's taking your son on a hike or fishing or duck hunting or whatever, I mean, just get them out there in the outdoors.
It ain't got to just be a son.
Yeah.
It ain't got to just be a son.
No, it don't. It can be a daughter.
That's true. Yeah.
Dan's got, you know, he's got a daughter and a son. I got a daughter and a son. I took my daughter, she grew up going fishing. She's never hunted, but now, you know, going back to where she grew up fishing, I take her fishing all the time, but she turned into a little princess and started doing dance for like 9 years. So she's 16 now, and she's wanting to go fishing and hunting again. So, well, actually get into the hunting part of it. So I'm gonna introduce her into hunting this year.
pretty cool. How some of your kids like they'll naturally gravitate toward it, and some just kind of they don't. I respect it. You know, like our daughter doesn't want to kill an animal. I'll tell you what, don't care. I respect it. She doesn't want to kill an animal. You want to harvest one. And my son wants to kill everything known to man alive. So I guess that's nice balance, I guess. But she likes to target shoot, so I'm pretty proud of her because she loves target shooting.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's like my daughter. She wants to kill everything.
You got the inverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got an 18-year-old daughter that's a stone cold killer. She deer hunts with me. She does all my son, like I said, my son does as well, but she's I don't know, she's unbelievable. She just doesn't miss. And she just if it's within 100 yards, it's done. It doesn't matter.
It's a proven thing. Women and girls are better shot than men.
For sure.
Yep.
I've taken several different gun training classes, and every training officer always, it's one of the first things they mention, especially if you've got a female in the class. They're like, this female right here is definitely going to beat each one of you guys out, because it's just I don't know if it's an instinct thing or I don't know, real
muscle memory thing.
Muscle memory, yeah.
Better focus.
We overuse our muscles where they just naturally just grip it and rip it. My buddy's a trained marksman, whatever. He says all the time is that their muscle memory so much better and everything's just nice and easy. Boop.
Yeah. And I can see that. I trained my son. I said, son, you can't jerk the trigger. It's got to scare you when it goes off. You want to pull, bang. It should surprise you every time that gun goes off.
Absolutely. Those are all great points, guys. I know talking about kids and youth, I know Dan talked about getting girls out there too, and even like wives, taking our wives out. And I know growing up dating my wife initially, she I don't know if it was like the hook or what. I mean, she went me all the time, and she would always like I'd be like, hey, stop moving the leaves, And she'd like we're starting to argue, back and forth. Hey, I told you quiet, and she'd move the leaves, and she didn't go as much anymore, but she shot like a double drop time this year, a huge buck out back of shop here, put the the bolt right through the shoulder, but she doesn't go as much anymore. I'd say once you have kids, like you're busy, so you don't like that tapers off a little bit here and there, ebbs and flows. But I'm hoping she gets more back into it with me, as we move forward.
Yeah.
My daughters are young enough. Like my oldest daughter just turned 5, and she's been begging to go. I mean, she was begging to go last year, but I think she was still too young. But I'm going to take her in a ground blind this year for hunting and try to at least get her in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
she goes fishing they both go fishing and crabbing with me all the time. I take them on the boat all the time, but hunting's a different ballgame. So I'm going to get my oldest daughter involved in it this year in a ground blind. And
awesome.
That's really cool. You guys, there's a question for all you out there, because I know it's something I went through, and I just want to throw it out, see if you guys went through the same thing. I had a hard time getting my kids to do it the first time. Like technology and screen, the house. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, my son wanted to go right away, and now he wants to go all the time. But like, it's sometimes hard to get kids out, get them off, outside, and just try it the first time, and they love it, and they're addicted to it.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with my son. Like I said, my daughter, she wanted to go fishing, but never showed a real interest in it. But I think as they grow older, and like you're saying, the technology gets better and better, and we start leaning more towards technology for everything we do, basically. I think that they start realizing that they need to come back to those things. Hopefully, it seems like that. My son, he's involved with golf, and he's involved with a bunch of things in school. He just took his journeyman tests, and they're trying to start their careers early. So they've got a lot going on. But if they still see dad or some kind of figure, I think doing the things that they grew up with, that it'll still instill that to them, that they need to come back to that.
Great point. And also made another great point in getting kids in skilled trades. And college is great. College is a great route, but man, you better have a focused job. If you're going to school, get a skilled trade. Go out there and make yourself a company and start it, because you make a lot of money. Skilled trades.
That's one thing that we didn't do. We didn't push our kids, and we're not pushing our kids to go to college. If they want to go to college, that's fine. We'll pave that road, make it happen for them. But if you want to do a trade, because trades are a dying thing, just like our heritage in hunting, I think we need to keep that alive too. So I'm pushing that, and trades is a great thing to fall back on, even if you do go to college. So
absolutely. And on a second note here, talking about Nature's Voice game calls, what do you guys offer in terms of that, and what's your connection with it?
Dan, you want to tell a little bit about that?
I just want you to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your game calls, Nature's Voice game calls.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're in the call company here. So we're doing turkey calls. That's kind of our bread and butter, really. So the diaphragm calls and slate calls, we do box calls. We do sell the duck and goose calls, but it just seems like the area we're in, it's not the biggest market for it. So we don't have a showing for those in our area. But now our turkey calls, that's where it's at. We do grunt tubes for deer as well. So along with all of our locator calls, you got your owl hoots, crow call. So we kind of have a pretty broad spectrum of calls.
And those are available online. You can order those.
You can. naturesvoicegamecalls.com.
Okay, that's perfect. Sounds good.
Yeah, sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
Good. I personally used the grunt tube the last couple of years, and it's phenomenal. That big 8 I shot last year just came.
Yeah,
he came like one.
It's that's a really good grunt tube. We offered in a polycarbonate and wood, which is walnut and cherry. But it's a 5-phase grunt call, goes all the way from a fawn bleat all the way up to a dominant buck. So what you can do with like the old Primos cans, you can do everything with that on this grunt call.
That's cool. That makes it nice and simple to use in one-hand operation, probably, right? Get it low movement.
Yeah, you can. You just take the barrel off of it. You can move an O-ring up to the different levels that you want.
Levels. Yep. That's really cool.
So, like Dan was saying, we primarily started and founded the business on turkey mouth calls. So, a little history behind the business. Me and my brother originally started this business 12 years ago. 2 years after 14 years ago. 2 years after we started the business, he passed away. So me and Dan had never met during that time. And after my brother passed away, his father-in-law was like one of my brother's best friends. So me and Dan became really good friends, and Dan has become a big help to me and a contributor to Nature's Voice game calls and the success that it's had. So
I'll tell you what, it's really cool because everything in this life is temporary. I found that out more recently than ever this past year losing 3 grandparents. And what I found is, everything we're doing, even the podcast we're both sharing, as much as we can do to get out there to reach people, that's what it's all about. Get them into hunting, pass fishing on, like you said earlier in the podcast here. And it's not really about us. It's about the connectivity we can have in the outdoor industry, cross some bridges, shake some hands, have disagreements, and then technology and what we use to hunt. But yet respect those freaking disagreements. I think, like Kevin noticed, the trolls earlier, we talked about crossbows versus vertical bows and trap bows. We had that discussion. Get out and hunt and enjoy it, with friends and family, because it's not going to last forever. This life's temporary.
Yep, that's right.
Well, thank you guys for coming on tonight, Mike and Dan. It's been awesome having you. Everybody check out the On Limb podcast. We're going to have this out by this weekend. So like, share, subscribe, give us a review. We appreciate it. And thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
You bet. Take care.